All right, let's get into it right now. Bronwyn Bishop, Joe Hildebrand, lovely to see you here. There's a lot to get to, including, of course, look, if you are going to be the president of the legalised cannabis party, that's the fodder you want, right?
Well, I think, look, it's fine for him to talk about legalising cannabis, but when is he going to return the rings of power to Mordor? I mean, priorities, people.
Correct. Now, another thing everyone's talked about the past little while as well, and James Ashby joins us, of course, from One Nation. My apologies, big fella. I was just on that Christmas tree. It started in September, but it's looking more. The closer we get, the better it goes. So I want to start with you here, James. Where yet another local council in uber woke Melbourne, run by the Greens, says no to Australia Day. Now, everyone watching here finds that to be maddening. I believe no more council involvement in Australia Day. Citizenship ceremony should be done by your local federal MP or senator, and take this away from the people who clearly want to undermine it, one council at a time.
Well, I can't believe this chestnut's happening prior to Christmas. I thought we were going to talk about abolishing Christmas carols and all that before such topics like this come about. But isn't it funny, these are the same councils that are now getting people to make an application to fly an Australian flag in their front yard as well. It's just gone silly. Sadly, they are nibbling away bit by bit, and they're getting their way. It's, the gay marriage thing's out of the way, so now they're just going to hone in on Australia Day. I tell you what, if you're a proud Aussie like I am, and you do have a flag out the front, fly it even bigger, even prouder, even higher this next, it's just over a month away. So I don't know where they get off. These are the same people, as you say, Paul, that put their hand out for funding when it comes to federal government assistance to help their councils do something along the lines of Australia Day. They don't mind taking the public holidays as well that are issued. So I just wish we'd get off this subject. Every year it comes around.
Yeah, so my point, Bronwyn, is make the change, right? This was one of the failures of the last federal government, is that they let councils get involved in all of this. It's pretty easy. You can have, in big cities or regional areas, you can have a local celebration. Good luck to you. That's going to happen for most people. But I don't care anymore about local mayors who don't even run on this stuff. They get elected on something else about, cutting down the number of unit developments that are taking place. But what they really do is they turn around and pull this stuff away. So what would you do?
Well, the first thing to say is that any federal member of parliament can elect to conduct those ceremonies if they wish to do so.
Good.
The second thing to make is that Greens hate the concept of the nation state. They don't believe in the nation state. Australia is a nation state and they hate it. So anything they can do to tarnish, to pull away the pillars that support our nationalism, and it's not a dirty word, it is people who love their country, should not be surprised at. So very simply, just let the local members take it over, conduct it, and don't let them conduct
But there's another thing here too,
ceremonies.
Right? Which is that I think that the major parties, or certainly the centre and centre-right, have just given up on local council. Run! Like, I know that every single person who declares themselves to be a conservative or a libertarian wants to run for the Senate, right? How many times do we see this? All those high-profile people. Well, I want to see people who are conservative, overtly conservative, not nutty conservative, just overtly traditionalist, actually running for local councils. Why is there not money? Why is there not some more effort put into this? Because, Joe, Labor does very well in terms of finding candidates that become mayors as a training ground. But I want normal people in a position to be able to say to the 5 or 6 kooks that actually put their hands up from the Greens, who go uncontested because nobody knows who their name is on the ballot paper, to actually bandy together and push back against these people.
Yeah, it's a really weird one. For some reason, Conservatives, when they do run for local government, never actually want to run under a Conservative brand. So they'll call themselves, well, it's kind of like what the Teals used to do, the local independent or whatever, whereas Labor and the Greens have no qualms. I have to say, in the inner west, the Greens aren't worried about such trivial matters as Australia Day. They're writing to Joe Biden demanding that he drop all the charges and extradite Julian Assange.
Oh, good.
And also calling for a ban on nuclear submarines in the Cooks River. So keep it local.
But how's the pothole going Norton
The
Street.
potholes are everywhere. But again, in that council, Labor is, Darcy Byrne as a mayor, thank God, after a brief interregnum of a Greens mayor, he has been the sensible voice. He has been the opposing voice about keeping things local. Why the Liberals don't actually tend to run under the Liberal brand?
Why don't they?
Well, it's
All one nation. Why
excuse me,
don't
it's
they
just
get
not true. And I've got to say, when I was party president, I was a very big advocate of having people run under the Liberal banner. And there are many councils where, indeed, there are pre-selected Liberal candidates running for those councils. Now, it's not something that the party embraces right across the board, but it does happen. But one of the important things to realise about local councils, particularly in New South Wales, is because the way the legislation is drawn, that all the power rests with the chief executive, the man who gets all the big money, and the bureauccy.
Yes, correct.
And the councillors run around
cutting the ribbons, not making the decisions.
They have virtually no power at all until it comes to stupid issues like this.
Yeah.
So understand that it's not a fulfilling role in that sense. But the second thing to say is the way in which you vote in a council election is its proportional representation, which means that people on very low primary votes can work their way up on the preference deals and get elected into those last positions, which is why you get so many Greens in what would otherwise be Conservative areas.
Yeah, but James, again, I don't know if it's ever been discussed, right? But the idea that, that there's places where you've been competitive in state seats. There are places where the Senate votes particularly well. So why don't we see One Nation candidates running for the Ipswich mayor or, running in Townsville or something like that?
Well, it does come down to party funds a lot of the time, and even the major parties are very selective as to where they do run, particularly in Queensland. It's mainly in that southeast corner. But councils in Queensland or councillors get paid reasonably well, unlike other states. Like if you have a look at the way that they're paid in New South Wales, it's pittance, and you have to have a full-time job, which for most families just doesn't work. If you've got kids and a wife or a husband and you've got other obligations with work, the $15,000 to $20,000 you might get paid is not worth the extra time taking all those phone calls about long grass and potholes and issues with sewage. So that's the reality of it. People don't have the time anymore unless you're unemployed like half the Greens and have got nothing better to do. You throw your name in the hat, and most of the time they get a job, and it's 20 grand more than what they had yesterday. So that is the issue. Queensland, on the other hand, I think they get paid reasonably well to take the job serious. I wish other states would follow in the same footsteps as our state.